So now we're recording. Cool. So basically today what we're going to go through are just a couple wide internet searches, and then we're going to learn a little something about WPA cracking. But first I want to start off by introducing myself. I am Lethality. That's my handle. I go by lethality.offsec@gmail.com. Basically what I like to do is just to promote cybersecurity awareness to others that lack the education that comes along with it. People don't tend to realize of how big it is, their security, whenever it comes to data of theirs floating in cyberspace. So I'm just going to show you some of the cool stuff, maybe some boring stuff to people, and I'm going to just show you exactly how a hacker, as you would say, would go about his day whenever it comes to finding information on the web. As for like dark web and such, we'll get into that later on, but for the time being, let's go ahead and focus onto this. So we're at a search page called Shodan right now. Shodan.io is just basically a website that helps pen testers and cybersecurity enthusiasts to get a good look of how many open devices there are whenever it comes to the open internet. That IP camera that somebody sets up that down the road could be, you could easily attain access to it via just basic credentials such as admin, maybe just admin, Cisco for Cisco based devices. And TP Link devices go by admin. That's the one that I'm going to really show people today. The severity of using really outdated devices. So there's a device called TP Link Sc2020n. Now don't let it fool you. 2020 is not the year that it was built. I've found devices that have this relative firmware and hardware from 2012, and that's one that we're going to get into. So basically, since this is the open internet, this is open to the public. Shodan, granted, requires a subscription fee. Hands down, best $50 I've ever spent. And it gives you access to information, vulnerabilities. Granted, you can't look up vulnerabilities unless you have an enterprise account, but if you were to find one device that has a vulnerability, it would show you. It's just not going to give you access to just be able to have script kiddies, as we call them, look them up and essentially just target people by vulnerability. Not really caring what goes into the whole process. Basically, wanting to do ill will to the public. You, as a viewer, should take this as an educational video, not a video to where you're going to learn from it and then use that for bad. I'm all for using it for good. As for Ukraine, my prayers are going out to you, and maybe one day us in the cyber world will be able to help you a lot better than we can. So, prayers to them. Let's get back to it. So Shodan is your website. It's going to show you every single open internet device that's accessible. And then we're going to look at the TP Link Sc2020n. And when we search, it's going to give us a list of devices that are running off of that certain firmware. Right now we have 11. We have 4 in Thailand, we have 3 in Panama, 2 in Italy. And what we do now is we just click on one. We go through it, we just check it. Now you see on the left side they have all of these vulnerabilities. CV 2019-02020. It says it's a vulnerability found in Apache HTTP server. There's no Apache vulnerabilities are common throughout the open web. It's just a matter of getting them patched, and people can't. hardware that works on this certain kind of device, it can't support in an update. It's kind of like an iPhone. You get an iPhone, and then after a year, it seems like they release something that your iPhone can no longer support unless you get a brand new iPhone. That's how firmware upgrades work, and that's how companies essentially get their money. So if we continue on now, it has a bunch of Apache vulnerabilities, but we're not here for that. We are going to actually see if it is exploitable to the Metasploit framework exploit, essentially what we're going to use. So we're going to go ahead and initialize our database. And what it's doing right now is essentially it's getting our server ready, our PostgreSQL server, our database that Metasploit primarily tends to run off of, unless you were to change up the configuration in it. Data grab real quick. So MSF DB start. MSF DB start. Metasploit framework, you can actually start up the web service. Metasploit framework is that fancy little programs that they kind of bring out Mr. Robot quite a bit of times, or that, or F Society, like their own certain tools for pen testing. But this is one that we Kali Linux users use for our main vulnerability and exploit framework. So we're going to go MSF console. So let's clear this up a little bit. We're going to go MSF console. Wait for the cool lights. Comes up with some cool stuff like this, like destroy no data, maintain no persistence, above all else do no harm. These are the Kansas City's hackers. This is a group of underground people that pretty much just go around doing good there is from the comfort of their own home, despite getting profits or anything. We'll go into groups and how there are, you know, relatively a good amount of people that actually want to do good whenever it comes to cybersecurity protection. So now we have our little prompt. Let's go clear. So now we're going to go ahead and do search TP Link Sc. They have an excellent search program, so going through it is just a hunch. It's easy. And we're going to go look through here, and we are going to look for the exploit Linux TP Link Sc2020n authenticated telnet injection. Basically what this is going to do, as soon as we launch a command after putting in a couple of options, such as the rhost, which is the IP address that the target we are going to be exploiting, we are going to it is that simple, actually. It is. So we're going to come in here, we're going to use 54, and we're going to do show options. We're just going to use regular admin because people that just hook it up and just don't think of like ways to better secure it, since it's being such an old device. Back then it wasn't I mean, it was quite easy. You know, you never thought somebody was going to hack you back in 2012, and it's starting to gradually get a little bit bigger. So we have our HTTP password and username all set already because Metasploit's good like that. And then we're just going to do set rhost. Now we're going to come up here, we're going to copy the IP address. And this might work, this might not. Who knows? The thing is that we are not going to be doing any damage to it. So we're going to go ahead and set our host. Our port is going to be 80, which we have an Apache, so there's a bunch of vulnerabilities in that. Then we're just going to go ahead and hit exploit. And then we're going to see if we can try to log in with admin. You can see down here it's working. Now you see it says no connection, reset by peer. So these people actually have they're secure. They're not using admin, so then you would move on. You'd move on to the next one off your list. Right. And we're still going, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Cool. So. Let's continue. So now we got an extra IP address. This is the BOA web service. Now this is the one that I always see that this is pretty much the source of the exploit. It's going to exploit the BOA web server, and it's going to let us in via admin if the user doesn't have any extra, if they didn't set the credentials himself instead of admin. So alright. So, alright, we got our IP address. Go in here, we're going to copy. Oops. That should always be the other way. Alright, we're going to set our hosts again. We're going to do set our host, and then we're going to do run. Now, yep. So now it says that we're successful login with admin 50225. We're going to try to establish a telnet connection. Telnet, we found a shell. Basically, your shell is that's your end game. That's where all the pieces come in together, and now we are in it. So now we can do stuff like you can see all the files in it. We can CD out of it. We can CD into root. ls. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we even got a temp folder. Again. Who am I? We are root. I am root. So great. We got our shell. That's it. Now you are in control. You are in control of whether or not this device gets to essentially live or not. You're that final lifeline. Now the power and what you decide to do with it next is entirely up to you. But just remember that this is a great weapon. Whatever we do, this is the future. This is the way that we're gonna fight wars. And I just want everybody to have a fighting chance in the end. So now you got a good idea of how everything to exploit a TP Link router.